What is up, college football nation? What's the good word this week? It is a
What's going
week
on,
seven, week seven edition of the Talking Ball, Talking College
bro?
Football
We're
podcast.
we're halfway through the
I,
season.
dude, that's literally, Justin and I, we do the News for Jacks varsity podcast, high school
hmm
football here in town. Like us, we did that one yesterday, and it's just like, dude, we're at like week, 8. Like there's
Yeah,
literally like 4 weeks left in the regular season for high school football. And then, each league is 1 week behind. Like college football is a week
yeah.
behind high school, and then the pros are a week behind college. Yeah, I mean, it's just like we always talk about it in the off season, how we're like, can't wait for that first Saturday, can't wait for that first Saturday. And you're just like count down those dog days, and you're just like,
Yeah,
dude, we've just literally blown by, 6 weeks, and it's just
yeah.
like, are you kidding me? Like,
Football, and it's just
we savor these Saturdays, and it's like to be halfway done, you're like, damn,
crazy.
but
Yeah, it's crazy.
it is wild. I mean, we've had some wild games, and some teams
Hmm.
step up, some teams fall off, in the first 6 weeks. But I think last week was another good week of college football. We're finding out a lot about some of these teams, and what's their strengths and weaknesses, and the good
Coaching.
part is, yeah. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. But the good part is that now we're getting to that meaty conference schedules, big time matchups.
hmm
That's really going to set the landscape on who's going to make it to the Final Four, who's going to win their conferences, who's going to get to those conference championship games. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be good. We'll dive deeper into where we think some of these teams are going, as we get on. But we'll go ahead and hop into the look back of last weekend, obviously with the big three, with the Canes, Gators, and Noles, and we'll look a couple of those other big time matchups that were last Saturday. And before we dive into what's coming up this weekend, but first and foremost, I guess we'll have to start out with the biggest headliner, obviously, of last weekend.
Might be
You
the
know,
year.
it might be,
I
the
mean,
Gators played, Vandy and Florida State played.
does anybody remember that?
Yeah, it was all about the Miami Hurricanes, playing Georgia Tech. Should have been an easy game, in my opinion. We broke it down. We thought
Yeah.
it should have been an easy game. Georgia Tech's not, in my opinion, that good. Miami had been playing at an all-time high level, and to really have the game in hand, in a sense, and not come out with the win is all-time blunderish,
hmm
dumbest mistake. It's I don't even know how to fathom it. As a fan, obviously, you can sum it up better. I was just thinking, if that was the Gators, and just how, like you got
hmm
to be kidding me, man.
I mean,
Especially
the biggest thing sometimes you can take a loss. Like if the kids lost it and the
right.
ball doesn't bounce your way, but to go on to lose because your coach did something that you've known since Pop Warner to just kneel the ball at the end. I mean, that's not the we hate to say that was the play to lose the game, but I mean it was, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
because
all at the
yeah,
same time.
right. I mean, because you still the strip, the fumble,
It
all
wasn't a
that.
fumble.
I agree. I think he was down too. Like that
He's
was a whole
clearly
nother issue.
down.
That was a whole nother issue as well.
Yeah.
But then the other simple fact of, like, what the hell were you doing on defense for 2 plays?
Because they probably thought the game was over. We're gonna kneel it and we're getting the hell out of here after a bye week. They haven't won a game after a bye week since 2015 or 16. That's
That's crazy.
including bye weeks and going into a bowl game.
That's crazy. Like that's
Yeah, yeah,
supposed to be your best prep. You're supposed to be.
exactly.
I mean, were they prepping for North Carolina the
No,
whole 2 weeks?
it
I mean,
it watching that game, the prep was terrible. I mean, just breaking. Let me just go back through and break down the game. Your defense is playing lights out for the whole game. TVD, I don't know what the hell he was looking at. He has games where you just see it on where he's just lost. But I think the biggest thing going into last week, like I told you, they made the change with the DC. The DC changed it up completely. You can see they changed it up. They were giving the Canes the ability to run the football, but they were keeping everything in front. And they run on first, run on second, so it was turning into 3rd and 5 plus. And Tech was aggressive on defense because they were like, "We're not going to give you the first down." So between the 40s, Miami was able to move the ball in the first quarter or the first half. And then we get a big play to get down the field with 3 minutes. It was like 3 minutes left in the half. And then he takes a shot in the middle of the field in the end zone where Restrepo was triple covered. He was triple covered and he tried to force it in there. He had the back to the left and the tight end in the middle of the field that he could have dumped the ball to either one of them. I mean, it's 3 minutes left, so you're not in like 2 minutes or anything to try to hurry up. The other thing Georgia Tech did a great job of, they said, we don't care about your tight ends. If you go back and watch the game, they clearly did not cover the tight ends like hard. Even when Miami split the tight ends out wide, the coaches were, you can see the coaches telling them, like, don't worry about them. They're not going to throw the ball to them. And Miami did a terrible job of not throwing the ball to the tight ends. Outside of the Riley Williams catch for the touchdown, where it looked like that was just his third read and he was just sitting in the middle of the field. It was just bad overall. And I thought they were able to run the ball a little bit. Don Chaney got his 100 yards. I think that's probably why they ran the ball. He had 97, I think, at the time of that last play to kneel it, and it felt like they were just trying to get him his 100 yards. But it's like, it's just inexcusable to not end the game that way. Like you say, your defense got you 2 turnovers. They put you in good position. Even at the end of the game with the James Williams interception, they get to the.
I thought that was the sealer. I thought that was sealing it.
And you had to settle for 3 because you call some plays and I'm just like, what? Like I said, I like Dawson. I like his aggressiveness the first 4 games, but this game was kind of like, we're running the same plays. So we didn't build off of that bye week. Like you said, you're supposed to build off the bye week. And I felt like we didn't.
Yeah, no, I think my biggest takeaway too is just, defensively, like you said, y'all did a great job. It's not like Haynes King lit it up or anything. He threw for 150 yards. He also had 2 interceptions. He was the damn leading rusher for them.
Exactly.
They y'all shut their run game down.
Everything.
But ultimately the equalizer too is Tyler Van Dyke can't throw 3 interceptions. He can't turn it over. Like, that's bad. Bad for business. Turnovers obviously. But I definitely thought okay, they're kind of sleepwalking through this game. They're just not playing good. Somehow, some way they'll get out of this and they'll be like, all right, we played like dog and we got out of here. And, after the James Williams pick, I was like, all right, this thing's iced. I was like, they should, run it out, score, take the lead, whatever, and ice the game. For you to not go in victory formation in a dogfight type of game is baffling to me.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it before. This whole entire season, Miami has basically been up big in every single game. And not one time in those games did he take a knee. They ran a play and ran the clock out. In that type of scenario, you're up by double digits. Who cares? But when you've literally been in a meat grinder dogfight where you've basically been struggling with this team, where there was a chance where it looked like you might not win the game, and for you to finally get in position to basically end it, like, we're done, this is all over with, and all you have to do is take a knee, is like top 5 all-time dumbest decisions. Like, is your ego that big? Like, I don't even understand what Cristobal or Dawson were thinking.
Well, he did it at Oregon. He did it at Oregon in 2018.
They were talking about
a conference game.
They were talking about that one, and I looked it up, and that was against Stanford. The scenarios were still different. The scenarios were still different in that one. That game, they were trying to salt the game away. That game was a little bit in doubt, and they went for it to try to get a first down to end the game, and the ball got stripped, and they ended up losing that game in overtime. So this is where the game was completely over. They weren't trying to, they weren't trying to necessarily we got to get a first down to now extend the clock out.
Exactly.
Like, this thing was completely, you over. Take a knee and you're going to shake
seconds
hands.
left.
You're going to shake hands.
Seconds left.
Yeah, and so, like, then on the flip side, you're like, all right, well, my biggest thing was, okay, they get the big play on the left hash where the guy throws it like right over a outstretched James Williams. He throws it over, and
Cam.
The guy didn't even get out of bounds on that play. But
no, that was Takori. That play was Takori Couch, where he tried to go for the pick, and it's just like, dude, just stay with your man. And if you tackle him in bounds, the game's practically over because they're rushing to get a play.
Yeah, well, but like I say, then the touchdown pass was just like,
that was Cam.
I'm like, what is going?
Our
There is nobody back here at all, and it's just like,
you know why? Because our safeties have a tendency to try to jump passes, and it's like, why? In the first half, they had a big play for a scoring drive where James Williams tried to jump a route, and the outside receiver is going, out, deeper than him, and
and
it's just
and, and,
like,
and
why
that's
are we
okay.
jumping routes?
I guess that's okay. This goes back to the whole situational awareness type deal.
Yeah.
Okay, early in the game, take a chance, take a shot, like risk, maybe
Yeah, but
reward
not.
there. The last play of the damn game, this is it. I can't let anybody get deeper.
Three guys should be on the goal line and not moving. It's like how we always joke about the heels at the 10.
Yeah, no, that's
on
where
the punt return. The heels,
you should have a
heels
wall
at the
back
goal
there.
line.
Yeah, you should have a wall back there, and it should be
who cares if he catches it in front of you?
Yeah, you tackle him inbounds, you knock it down, you get an interception, whatever. You cannot let a guy.
No,
I mean, it was ridiculous watching Christian Leary run past 4 black jerseys. I'm like, what is going on here, dude?
Yeah.
So, like I say, it was just all time, just dumb, boneheaded things to do. To where, like, I get this is the thing that sucks is like, it.
You put yourself behind the 8 ball.
Miami still has everything in front of them. They control their own destiny. All that stuff.
Let me break it down to you.
But the problem is now you have no room for any error in any game, and you still have hell. You got a banger this week. You still got to play Florida State. So it's like, I mean, I know your aspirations weren't going to be like, yeah, Miami's going to the college football playoff this year. You're like, you had hope that maybe we can run the table, but like that's the type of stuff that's like, well, we're not where we need to be yet because either players can't do it or coaches are screwing stuff up.
Let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this. You coached, and normally as a player, we've both played. You've coached. I haven't. But as a player, you want to say you listen to your coach, and the coach says, all right, you guys listen to us and see what you say. If you're TBD in that moment and you see that play call come in, I would just be like, what? I mean, I would look at Chaney and be like, yo, we're going to run the play, but somehow you stumble and just fall on the ground.
Right.
Because like, this is dumb right now to run this play.
Yeah.
And for me, all those players, I get their college and you're not supposed to go against what your coach says and blah, 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 blah. But everybody on that sideline has played enough football to sit there and be like, this is asinine for us to run this play right now with 26 seconds left on 3rd down.
Yeah, no,
the game is over.
Yeah, that's where in a sense it's like a situational awareness again, just like for your coaches and your players to be like, coach, are you sure you want us to run this play? Like you almost like you should double ask and be like, are you sure you don't want to just take a knee?
Yeah, it's kind of like when the player runs, he breaks the 1st down, and you're instead of him scoring to give them the possession,
slides down and goes
down
at
the 1. So it's kind of like that. Like
doesn't go out of bounds, doesn't score a touchdown.
That's what I need you to do, because like you just said, it puts you get off of you get off your bye week blues from 2015-16, like I said. And then the other thing I didn't realize is their last 4 or 5 times they played Georgia Tech, I think the win differential is like 11 points.
Yeah, it's been pretty tight. It's like you guys, I don't know what it is. You don't handle business when you play Tech.
So it's like so many things going against you where you're just like, let's exercise all these demons one time. And like even I had a conversation with someone, even if it was 4th down and you still had it was 40 seconds left and it was like 40 seconds left and 35 on the play clock, you still kneel it.
Yeah.
And you tell him drop back and throw that bitch out the back of the end zone.
That's basically what Bama did.
Right.
That's what Bama did. They basically did that. They basically ran it out and then let Milroe just throw one.
Throw it deep. And it's just inexcusable. And then, I mean, I don't think he apologized and Dawson apologized in their press conferences, but I'm like, you both are full of crap.
Yeah, that's what you got to say.
Like,
exactly. It was my fault. Both of them took blame.
But not trying to jump ahead into week 7. But now this is where we got to see, is this the team of the past where you lose that game and you go on a losing streak? Or is this the new Miami they're trying to build down there with the bunker mentality and saying, hey, we need to rebound and come back and beat North Carolina, which is going to be a tough game. Yep. So which team shows up? Do the players stay bought in?
Right.
because it's easy for one or two players to be like, man, our coaches can't even get the little things right. So how can I believe in him?
Right.
Why should I listen to him the rest of the year? And
No.
not saying that's how players think, but there will be one or two that are second guessing a lot of things.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like 100%. Like I say, it's just totally
It was
disappointing in the sense
very
of where you
mhm,
guys were and how much
and
momentum you have.
trending.
You
Yep.
you get the big Texas A&M win early in the year, and then everything's looking good, and
Yeah.
now you've already circled on the calendar which games are the most pivotal ones.
Hmm.
Georgia Tech wasn't on there. It was this week against
Nope.
North Carolina, and further on
Yeah.
down,
But
so
I told you at the beginning of the season when we were doing our preview of the season, they always lose a dumb ACC game
yeah,
that
no,
they
you're
shouldn't lose. And
100%.
now you're looking at it. You still got to play Carolina this week, Clemson the next week. You get I think NC State, Virginia in between the Florida State game, and then after Florida State, you got to play Louisville.
Yeah,
Where Louisville
Louisville now all of a sudden is
Doesn't have to play Clemson,
yeah, they don't
doesn't
have
have
to
to
play
play
Florida
Florida
State.
State.
Yeah,
Riley Leonard may not be back for the game.
right.
So you're looking at, even if you beat Louis, just say you lose two of the next three, or even if you win two of the next three, and you got two losses in the ACC, Louisville still has to lose
Yeah,
one before playing Miami.
and their schedule it's
That's
light.
what I'm saying. They don't play anybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah,
So even if Miami beats them, they need Riley Leonard back and Duke to beat them
right.
in that game.
Yeah,
If not, they're not going to lose to Virginia and Virginia Tech
no,
and
no way,
NC
no way,
State.
no
So
way. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
it was piss poor. All in all, it was piss poor by the Miami coaching staff. You got to call a spade a spade. It was
Yeah.
terrible. They should have had the W. They didn't. Now let's see how they bounce back.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's it.
Well, like I say, we'll get into a little bit of the preview of the North Carolina game here in a little bit, but we'll go ahead
Yeah.
and hop over to the Noles taking care of business like we figured they kind of like how Miami should have done, I guess.
It was
It was
they took care of business, but they were playing around a little bit. I
yeah,
felt
it was
like
kind of that score always seemed weird in that
yeah.
game. They were up and
They
then all of
jumped
a sudden
out 22-0
yeah, it was
in the first quarter.
yeah, no, it was they hopped out like
Mm-hmm.
big and then all right, halftime 22-10, so it's a two-score game. But then Virginia Tech came out in that third quarter and scored another
The opening
touchdown.
kickoff. The
Yeah,
opening kickoff of the second half. They made
housed
it
it 99.
22-17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
housed it 99 yards. Now you're like, okay, this thing's a score.
Yeah.
Now Florida State answered with a touchdown.
They did.
You know,
They did.
and on the very next drive, and then they tacked on a field
Mm-hmm.
goal in the third, and then they got the fourth quarter touchdown. Obviously the big deal in this game was they finally got Trey Benson going a little bit,
That was
but
huge. 200
but
yards rushing. That was huge.
definitely like that's one of the keys that they've been trying. We know what Jordan Travis can do in the passing game
Mm-hmm.
and his mobility with his legs. The running game's been there, but they haven't really gone to it, nor has it been hugely reliable. And I think obviously getting Trey Benson going is what they wanted it to do,
Yeah.
as they get in the stretch run here of the conference play. So, that was a big deal. Like Virginia Tech's just not very good, and like I say, the kickoff return definitely got them back in it, but they answered the bell right after that. But,
Yeah.
it's just one of those games where,
Drones at quarterback was the only reason why they were even in the game.
yeah, and he
I
didn't
think
even, no, I was
he
just
had
saying
100 yards
he didn't
rushing,
he didn't
and
even start the year. It was
I
like,
know.
why is this guy not the starter?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he's definitely their best player on offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just still watching that game, you still notice that the offensive line did a better job, but they're still struggling a little bit. I mean, I know he had 200 yards rushing, 80 of those he had an 80-yard run, but there's still times where you see the offensive lines letting some penetration get in there and blow up the running game and just stuffing it up to where the running backs got to work harder. And I think that's one thing they got to clean up. And the other thing is they struggle with mobile quarterbacks on defense.
Yeah.
You got the win off a bye week.
Yeah.
That's and they came out smoking like we just both said, and you're just like, all right, man, this is about to be 50-0, and it
Right.
felt like they took the gas off. They let their foot off the gas a little bit, and Virginia Tech was just being feisty. But like you said, at no point did you feel like Florida State was going to lose the game.
Not at all.
It's just stuff you got to clean up.
Yeah, definitely not at all. They were able to flex their muscle.
Yeah.
When Virginia Tech answered there to make it like, oh, could this be a game all of a sudden? And they did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
To get the win in a big fashion, and they did that. And like I say, again, we've talked about FSU's schedule now to where they've had these it's been set up for them right now where they've playing a terrible Virginia Tech team, not a very good Syracuse team.
Yeah.
Now is Riley Leonard going to be back for the Duke game? And you're just like, and that game's at home too. So it's like everything right now is set up for Florida State not to do kind of like what Miami and what Florida State's typically done in the past is have these dumb, inexplicable ACC losses.
games.
Last year's NC State game. They went on that 3-game skid, but like they should have beat NC State, but instead they lost.
Exactly.
So
I mean, looking at like you say, looking at their schedule, they should win out.
Yeah.
You got your toughest game.
They're going to be
out of the way.
They're going to be favored in every single game.
And it's just like you gotta keep the guys bought in and just keep them going, because like you say, it's easy for 18, 19, 20-year-olds to kind of like, oh, Syracuse, we're gonna blow them out. Yeah, we're gonna beat them. Let's just go out, have a good time, and party. But that's when your seniors, your Verses, and your Jordan Travises and your Keon Coleman's have to step in and just be leaders and just say, hey guys, we got to stay focused and keep it going. We can't. This is our opportunity, our one opportunity to get to the national championship game, and we just got to keep fighting.
Now, I got a question for you, El. Do you have? Has your sentiments changed at all? Where you think Florida State is. I mean, obviously we talked about them and their resume early in the year in this first, segment of the season. Do you not necessarily knock them down, but in a sense, knock them down a rung because of maybe LSU is not that good. Maybe Clemson isn't as good this year. We know we've seen LSU and the horrific defenses they put on the field. Yes, Jaden Daniels has been spectacular. Their offense is on a whole nother level going on at LSU, but that defense is god-awful. You have Clemson with their 2 losses losing to Duke and Florida State and then basically beating Wake by 5 last week. So it's like, is their wins not as impressive as they were? Yes, they're impressive at the time, but as you get a little bit more resume, are they not as impressive?
Tell me another team in the country that have more impressive wins than Florida State with Clemson and LSU.
I mean, but how good is Clemson and LSU? That's what I'm saying.
They're still Clemson. They're still winning.
Yeah.
Once again, Texas beat Bama, right?
Yep.
Is Bama as good as we thought they were? We're still trying to figure that out.
I think Bama's pretty damn good, but
they're good. But we're still trying to figure it out with Bama. They've won back to back.
Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, but
I'm just
they haven't beat anyone.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is I think LSU is going to have 2 or 3 more. I think Bama's going to beat LSU, so then they're going to be unranked.
But we can't predict the future. You can't predict the future. In week 6, going into week 7, UGA, who's the top team UGA's beat? Kentucky, right?
Yeah, last week's Kentucky.
And then Michigan. Michigan hadn't played anybody with a pulse.
Nope.
And then Oregon, their best win's Colorado so far. Penn State, who's their best win?
West Virginia is probably their best win.
West Virginia. USC, their best win is who? Colorado and Arizona?
Yeah, probably so.
So I'm going through half of the top 5, and who would you put up there where you're like, these teams beat a better quality teams than Florida State?
Yeah, the only 3 teams that have the bigger signature wins instead of like you would say 2 of the better wins is Oklahoma beating Texas beating Bama, and Ohio State beating Notre Dame. That's basically probably like the best wins as in the season. But like you don't have Ohio State, they just beat Notre Dame and they beat Maryland or
exactly.
That would be, I guess that would be a comparable one. Ohio State's Notre Dame win, but now Notre Dame's kind of fallen off a rung or 2. But like I say, again, I'm not saying dock Florida State. I'm just saying
no. I know
those wins. They're less, not like it's less impressive, but LSU is not. They're not going to win the West.
They're not out of it. You can't say they can't win it. They're going to score points, but their defense is god awful.
They definitely could win they got to beat Bama. Obviously, that's the game they got to beat, and then they still got Ole Miss.
We'll find out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but
because the thing, Bama still got to be able to score points. Their defense is going to come out and play.
Yeah,
but if LSU is able to get up and down the field and create a track meet like they've been the last couple of weeks, who's to say they can't beat
No, that's the only way LSU's winning any games this year. It's just like how they won last week. It's going to be
no shit.
They're LSU is a Pac-12 team this year.
But
they got the Pac-12 quarterback from Arizona State, and they're playing like it now.
Yeah, but I still respect Florida State's wins over LSU and Clemson, because I'll take Clemson over a lot of these teams in a lot of these conferences.
Yeah, I guess the thing with Clemson,
they may not be the top dogs in those conferences, but they'll stay in it.
I guess that my biggest thing with, like I say, Clemson is like, what the hell happened to you last week? You looked so good against Florida State. You probably could have won that game, maybe if you would have
W.
And it's like, Jesus,
who cares anymore?
Wake Forest. I feel you. It's like
because we're about to talk about USC in probably 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Just
get the W. Hell, Penn State struggled with Northwestern
for a half.
Hell, for a half, but Eden James from Howard just had what, 250 rushing on them. So it's like we can sit here and say tit for tat, but at the same time, like I say, you just got to get Florida State their due. That
here's the best part.
Week and,
the best part about it. Guess what? The best part about it is they still got to play 6 more games. Everybody else still got to play 6 more games. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there now. Do we give
I get
Florida
it.
State that?
It's conversation. Nothing wrong with it. I still think they're a top 5 team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Maybe we'll get to the rankings later.
We'll get to that later, but they're still top 5 team in my eyes. I think they have everything you could possibly have.
Yeah, no,
to win a national championship.
No doubt,
it's all going to come down to, in those big games, will Mike. We haven't really seen Mike in like a big game and make big game decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the only question mark I have. I mean, you got good backs, you got good receivers, your quarterback is a veteran, and your defense could turn it up when it's time to turn it up.
Yeah, no, like I say, I totally agree. That's why I want to see it. It sucks that they don't have to play like a Louisville and a Notre Dame this year, but guess what? They get to play a Louisville or a Notre Dame, or not a Notre Dame, a Louisville, or have to play a Clemson or a Miami twice, in the ACC game. And then then you get that far, then you're going to play one of these, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. You have to play with those,
So going off of your question, it's the middle of the year. It's mid-season. How do you feel about the landscape of college football of, like you say, where Florida State is, where their position compared to the other teams? Like, do you see another team getting ready to ascend or descend? Because, I mean, we'll find out, like you say, we'll find out a lot these next couple of weeks, especially with the Pac-12.
Yeah, no, for sure. The Pac-12 is about to eat itself up, and who's going to, take that next step in that league, definitely. Obviously, I think the Big 12 is wrapped up. I think it's OU and Texas. We'll get more into that one here in a second. And I'll talk about who I think is going to win there. Big 10, we've known it. The Big 10 is terrible. It's literally top heavy, and those 3 teams, when they play each other, when Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan all have to play each other, we'll figure it out from there. Maryland's your pseudo 4th best team that can give one of those guys a game, but obviously we saw Ohio State take care of business on them this past week. It was tight early, but Ohio State flexed late and blew them out. SEC, we've kind of realized that the SEC is kind of down. It's Georgia in the East and everybody else, and then the West. Who was going to take that step in the West? It's obviously Bama stepped up, and if you were looking at what other conference did I miss? The ACC. We've kind of just scratched the surface on that. So I think ACC wise, Florida State definitely is in. They were in command. They were in command after I watched them play LSU. I was like, all right, they've got that test. Once they beat Clemson, then it was like driver's seat. So now
they're in a driver's seat.
What do you do? What do you do for the next 9 games after week 3?
And then there's no group of 5 team really to step up at the moment.
No, there's no way.
I'm just saying, just to push to get in that 4.
Yeah, so the crazy part is I know we're getting like in the middle of just conversation instead of breaking down games, which is good. What I think was crazy this year is it sucks that it's not the 12 team, because it makes up that there's like, to me, there's about 15 teams that are all kind of close to each other. And if they all played on a random Saturday, anybody could beat anybody in a sense, So like, I feel like this is going to be the shittiest year for that 5 and 6, 7 team that probably maybe deserves to be in the top 4. But guess what? You lost, or you did something, or we're going to have that controversial, multiple 1-loss teams. And it's like, who should deserve to get that last spot? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen to where you're going to have a one-loss Big Ten team. So it's like, who gets screwed out of that deal? You know, if you have if Ohio State, Michigan run the table and play in the big game at the end of the year, and they're both undefeated, you know, one of them loses, that means one of them doesn't play in the Big Ten game. So you're going to have let's just say we'll say Michigan wins again. So they go 12-0, they win the Big Ten, they're in. So now you got Ohio State sitting there at 11-1. Their one loss was, I guess we'll say it was a 3-point loss, a tight game. So you got a one-loss team. And what if you have a 12-0 Louisville and a 12-0 Florida State playing in the ACC game? What if Louisville wins that game and FSU takes their first loss? Who gets in, FSU or Ohio State? You know, that we're gonna have those kind of conversations.
Well, then that's what comes into play. What you were talking about with LSU and Clemson. How will they help Florida State if that scenario happened?
Right.
How does that help them at the end of the year? Where's Louisville and not Louisville? Where's Clemson and LSU at the end of the year? So where you can sit there and stack up those good wins.
Yeah, you're going to debate the LSU. We're going to debate the FSU and Ohio State schedule and how they've looked in the last, several weeks and all that stuff. And like I say, that's not even, talking about like OU and Texas. Like only one of those guys are going to get in, and we'll get on that. But I still think Texas has a great shot to get in the Final Four too. There's a lot of football to be played, but
like, can you win on the road? I like me. You've been saying
on the road is the biggest.
The winning on the road is the biggest thing.
100%. Well, let's dive into the Gators. Beating sorry ass Vanderbilt. Not much to say. Again,
they played at home.
You played at home. You do what you're supposed to do.
Unless you're Marshall.
It wasn't like it wasn't ugly. It wasn't lovely. It was a little tight early. I was annoyed with Jason Marshall's play where he got beat. By Will Shepherd on the long touchdown pass. Yeah, he grabbed your face mask, but finish the freaking play.
And then you're jogging.
Don't cry and complain that you got held. Yeah, run your ass and go, try to make a play on him. I hate that.
It's a bad look.
He grabbed my face mask and I can't run. It was holding, I hate that. I hate his body language, all that stuff. But, here's the crazy part again, which I like the fact that you can see in spurts in the last 2 weeks against the Kentucky and Vanderbilts that we are taking some more shots down the field. We are trying to stretch it and open it up a little bit. It's just Mertz has missed on a couple of those. But I do like where we're going with that. And again, we've talked about Mertz and his completion percentage and all that. And it's after 6 weeks, it is kind of mind-blowing how efficient he really is. I mean, to basically throw 36 passes and complete 30 of them is pretty damn good.
But he only had 254 yards.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's checked down Charlie. But in those 6 probably missed balls, those were your shot plays where you're like, man, he just missed. So it's like the inaccuracy is like you got to take those plays to loosen up the defense. But you're like, man, if he can ever get to start hitting these, I wish they would take more of them.
Sorry. I'm thinking about that video you sent me with James Franklin about the taking the shots down.
Throw the mother effer down there, man.
He was so confused by that question.
You don't just say.
I mean,
I mean, in a sense,
at the same time, in your own situation, you might want to do that.
I know. Here's the thing where James Franklin kind of he didn't really rip the guy, and this is no context to this. If you guys didn't see it was like a reporter basically saying, why isn't Drew Aller taking shots down the field? He didn't like preface it correctly. I mean, yes, I get what James Franklin is. We don't just dial it up. Like, in a sense, you can do that. You can basically be like, you know what? I don't even know who their number one receiver is, but that's where you say, okay, Eugene Wilson or Marcus Burke or Restrepo or whoever.
We gotta get those safeties back.
Keon Coleman. Hey, Jordan Travis. Keon's going to run a straight 9 ball, throw his ass the ball. Like, you can dial that up. It's not like you can't just be like, we're going to test them right here. So I get where James Franklin's coming from.
It was just like you say, is how the question was posed to him.
Right.
It was terrible. It was like he made it seem like how you play the turkey bowl on Thanksgiving. You just go out and just run 4 verts and just
Xbox 360, PS5. We're calling. Here we go. I'm taking a shot right here. Just throw it. like I say, my more thing is, I like the fact that I've seen where Billy is taking. My thing is definitely stop playing so conservative. What do we got to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Let it hang out a little bit. Let him take some shots. Hell, he's not throwing a lot of incompletions, so he's
No.
hitting your intermediate and short stuff with good accuracy. So it's like,
yeah, but it's weird though, because it feels like
it feels weird. It definitely does, because it feels like the offense doesn't sometimes flow or doesn't have any consistency. And I think the biggest thing is when you can't really open up the run game, you kind of bog down into some of those short, like, very not even intermediate, very short, at the line of scrimmage type balls. But my thing is, what I will say is Mertz he's like, what else do you want him to do? Except connect on a couple of those deep balls.
Tough, man. He's been taking some hits.
Yeah,
he's been taking some hits this season.
I've been thoroughly impressed. Is all what I can say is, I would love for him to be able to connect on some of these balls and then really get it going. But you got to take some more shots. But the run game's got to be there. I mean, they got Montreal going. They sat ETN.
Yeah.
Hell, I was happy my boy Webb ripped off a couple big runs in that game.
I wish he got some more carries though. He only had 4 carries.
So he had the big 43-yarder.
Yeah.
Again, defense is playing pretty good. Other than that, the long pass play.
Like you said last week, you're supposed to beat Vanderbilt.
It's Vanderbilt. I don't give a shit if they would have won.
Supposed to beat Vanderbilt.
You're playing Vanderbilt at home. That game should be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Win on the checkbox. Move on to the next week. So there's nothing else to really discuss about it. The big question is
covered.
now.
I was shocked you guys covered the 18.
That's what I'm saying. We scored some points.
Did you hear Doring? Chris Doring? He said he was running to the window to take the 18.
Yeah, CD said CD said I'm taking the point. Why not? Like I said,
why not? You guys haven't done anything to prove you any different.
No, like I said, and that's the same point which we're going to get into when we break down the going on the road to South Carolina October this week. But so we'll get out of that one and we'll dive into the big national game, which was last weekend.
What a game!
Boomer Sooner and Oklahoma really put it on, and they surprised me.
I'll give them as a rivalry game. That's what you want.
I'll give OU the flowers. I said I thought Texas was going to win. I thought Texas was going to win easily. I didn't know if they'd win in blowout fashion, but I thought they would be able to handle OU. And I was pretty. I wouldn't say shocked, but I was surprised by how good Dylan Gabriel and the offense looked. How good OU's D looked. I mean, obviously Brent Venables is going to have a defense.
Dude, they were physical. Both teams were physical.
They were popping pads. And I think my biggest takeaway was Ewers played like shit. Like I think
Dylan turnovers in the first 5 minutes. Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel outplayed him. Bottom line, throwing and running, and
285 passing, 113 rushing.
Those 2 turnovers were like, we talk about turnovers in like critical moments of games. Like, literally a pick on the first pass of the game. It sets up OU inside the red. Boom, 7-0. All right, so you settle in. You're like, all right, you're driving down. You're about to get points, and then you throw a pick in your red zone to stop points to tie it up. Now, that's a 14-point swing. Those were 2 like critical errors. Now, granted, they fought through all that and got back in the game. And then I feel like I don't know if Sark got conservative there late and just said, okay, we're going to go down here, ice this game and kick a field goal. And, they were almost like, yeah, we're good. We're going to kick this field goal. And you still left OU with 1:20. And then your defense went to shit. They didn't come up big.
Well, going back, you skipped over a huge part of the game.
I skipped over a lot. I just gave down the beginning and the end.
So they got that huge play by Whittingham to get to the 1. And then OU is stout at the 1-yard line to have a goal line stand. Because you tell me Texas with a goal line stand with Jonathan Brooks in the backfield, I'm like, well, that should be 7.
Yeah.
And OU's D line and their front 7 they were ferocious. Because Brooks, even though you see his numbers, I think he had 126 rushing. Most of that didn't come 129. It didn't come until the second half to the middle of the end. It was
later. Yeah,
where he broke off a couple runs, but the first half they controlled Brooks. Like you say, Ewers was rattled. You could tell he was a little rattled because
it's weird. It's like he played.
They didn't get the deep balls until the third quarter where he was dropping them to Worthy. It was mainly Whittingham doing little short routes.
Yeah, Whittington was killing them boys.
That's it.
Yeah, he played good. Like the guy who was kind of like missing was Mitchell. AD Mitchell was kind of like they couldn't get him going. They couldn't get him involved. just
with those weapons, you would think even with Saunders not really
yeah.
healthy.
Tre'Davion Sanders being out was big. He played early, and I knew he was banged up, but that was a big deal because he's such a monster, dude.
To kill the
And
middle of the field.
yeah, it's just OU definitely impressed me. I
Yeah.
love Farouk. I love Farouk on at receiver for OU.
Yeah.
He was nice.
Little
Obviously,
Stoops.
Little Stoops is
Dude, how
catching
about
like
that play,
everything,
that last drive? How do you leave Stoops wide open?
dude.
That was like,
Terrible.
what, a 30, 40-yard gain?
Yeah,
That
on the
put him in
first
the red zone.
that set him up to where you're like, all right, you're
Yeah.
back in this thing. You can go tie it up if you need to. You know, they were already in field goal range to send it overtime, and Venables' coach was hair on fire saying, "No, we're going to win this."
Yeah.
To whereas I feel like Sark didn't put the nail in it and be like, "This is our drive. OU's not touching the ball again. We're going to go down the field. We're going to go score and not settle for 3." And some of those. There was a couple questionable play calls on that last drive for the hell, because that was even a long kick for Auburn. That was a long kick he had to boot,
Yeah, because he's been struggling going into that game.
Yeah, Big Red, booted that thing, and it was.
Hey man, it was everything you would want in a game, especially a rivalry game. I think so far that might be the game of the year for me.
Definitely, no, that was definitely a hell of a game. Hell of a game.
Yeah, that game is. It's like one of those where you're like, I'm happy neither one of these is my team, so I can just sit back and enjoy it.
See, and here's I know this is a question that everybody asks in all games is like, okay, did OU win the game? Did Texas lose the game? And you could always be like, it was a combination of both and this, that, and the other.
It's a combination of both.
And so fast forwarding here, the Big 12 is god awful this year. It's bad. These two teams are legit and they are the real deal. They will not slip up. I'll say it. Maybe you say never say never. I don't see Texas losing the rest of their games. They've already beat Kansas, who is the only team that kind of has a little bit of something. TCU's bad, huh?
Enough juice.
Yeah, right. And so
Kansas has enough juice to keep up with them in the
points department. I think OU definitely they're not going to lose. So we're on a collision course.
It had to take a catastrophic game.
Yeah, we're on a collision course for round 2 of this, and this is what I was saying going into like playoff talk is. Even though Oklahoma won, and this is obviously like 4 days after digesting this game, we've had instead of having an instant reaction to the game of how OU, played, is I still feel like Texas is damn good, and I feel like Texas almost let it slip away. And if OU and Texas were playing again this weekend, I think I'd pick Texas.
Yeah.
That's not to take anything away from Oklahoma. Yeah. Oklahoma looked damn good, I think Oklahoma could play with anybody. But again, we're still 6 weeks removed from playing, or 6 weeks fast forwarded to playing this round 2 of this game.
With that being said, I think if you're Sark, you got to take that old school BCS era mentality now going forward, and you have to dominate every team.
Breaks off everybody.
Just so if you do beat Oklahoma, or if you do lose to Oklahoma, you could say, hey, we only had 2 losses to the same team.
Nah, if they lose out everyone else. They lose 2, they're done. They got to win out.
You want to say, but you still got to put yourself in that situation.
For sure.
If Penn State and they cannibalize each other,
right?
And Texas could say we still have better wins than Michigan or Ohio State.
Right.
We still have an argument to say we could get in it. We took care of business with every other team. We beat Bama, so. You still got to build that resume. Like you say, of course, you want to get to that title game and say, we got to beat this team, Oklahoma, the second time. But I think the rest of the way, you got to dominate. All these teams with the 1 loss still in position to win their conference titles. They got to dominate the rest of the way, just because, like you say, some of these conferences, their resumes outside of the Pac-12, in my opinion, if you're a Big Ten, State, Michigan, you're sitting there like, man, I don't have a lot of great wins, because what if Michigan only loses to Ohio State and they're one lost team? Their resume doesn't look good enough.
I feel like we're going to have about 4 or 5 teams with 1 loss fighting in that last 4 spots. I think that's why I said this for the committee this year is going to be your last hoorah at this committee. Mm-hmm. Good luck to y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Tough.
So
it's tough.
Yeah, right. Like I say, you get 1 year, and then now we get 12 teams. So the great part about this next year, if this was the year going in, it would be like, man, this is gonna be great. But you got to wait another season for that. Mm-hmm. But like I say, I Oklahoma played great. They really exceeded my expectations of them, and I think they're gonna I think they're going to kill everybody.
But sometimes you got to pump the brakes because it's easy to get up for a rivalry game.
It is totally.
It's kind of like last year, the Florida State game. No one gave Florida a chance in that game. And you guys, you fought. We didn't think they were going to win, but they fought enough to where, man, play here and there. They possibly win that game. So it's like in a rivalry game, you still got to say, you take the element out of we're just playing another team. And then Oklahoma had a bad taste in their mouth getting shut out last year in this game.
No,
so, what do they do going forward?
Here's who Oklahoma has to play. They get UCF, who hasn't been good now that they've gotten to the Big 12. Mm-hmm. At Kansas, now is Jalen Daniels going to get healthy? He's been he's not playing this week, but I still feel like Oklahoma is better than Kansas.
Yeah,
you got your last Bedlam game, which Oklahoma State's been kind of underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia at home, BYU and TCU, who just lost to Iowa State. So I feel like they're better than all those teams. Now, can they have a slip up? Sure.
The Bedlam game would be the game where you're like, it's a rivalry game, man. You think Gundy's going to throw the kitchen sink at them.
Yeah, no.
Are they better? Yes, but that's one of those games where you're still like, they should go. Yeah, where's that game at? Where's it at?
It's at Oklahoma.
Is that Oklahoma? So that favors them in a sense. It's a home game.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to.
No. It's in Stillwater. It's at
Stillwater, and it's It's a tough place to play for Oklahoma.
Yeah, no. Like I say, they're going to be a 2-touchdown favorite in that game. But like I say, you still got to go. You still got to go in and win.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, moving on to the SEC game of the week last week. It was the Alabama Crimson Tide taking down the old Jimbo Fishers and the Fighting Aggies. And like I say, this one, a lot of people said this was A&M's year to win the West. Bama's down. Bama's not Bama. Nick Saban doesn't have a quarterback, yada, yada, yada. And, all they do is bring their lunch pail and their defense. And then Jalen Milroe, by the way, had his best day as a quarterback, in my opinion, in this one.
They go back to old school Bama.
They came out with a nice win on the road at College Station. So I feel like Bama kind of like has made a statement here after losing that Texas game, beating Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, and then beating Jimbo and Texas A&M to now they're in the driver's seat for that West championship. Obviously with like LSU and Auburn to play, down the line. But I thought Bama looked good. I thought the defense played well.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to a lot of people talk about how Jimbo is a dumbass and can't coach, and he played coach scared, and should have went for it on the fourth down play. There's a lot of different things. There was a questionable call here and there. I thought it was a bad call on the punt or the field goal block. That should have been a house call for Bama to even make it worse. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, like I say, Bama did what Bama does, and they came out with a dub.
Yeah, I think the looking back now, that South Florida game may be the game that changed everything for Alabama this season. As bad as that game was with Ty Simpson and Buckner playing, the players are probably like, we're 100% behind Milroe. And then Saban's just like, I know I had Mac and Tua and Jalen and Bryce, but we got to take it back old school. We're just going to run the ball, beat you up on defense, and hope Milroe can hit the deep ball. And that's just how they're going to do it. And it's just going to make the game ugly and muck it up. But guess what? As long as you get the W, who gives a damn?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's what it's about.
Milroe threw for 321 and 3 TDs with the one. Like I say, A&M's got a great defensive front, so you knew running the ball was going to be kind of tough. They damn sure stifled the run game. Between McClellan and Roydell Williams, 30 or 23 yards rushing.
But you just make it ugly though.
You had the negative yards in the sack for Milroe.
Yeah,
but the guy, in my opinion, it was it was Milroe, but Texas A&M, you guys want to cover Jermaine Burton? Like he looked spectacular.
One thing about it, Milroe can't drop that thing in the bucket.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
he could drop that thing in the bucket.
Jermaine Burton was getting loose on them boys. Almost had 200 yards receiving. Man, he was nice. But I love the way Bama's defense is playing too. I know
they turn it up a notch.
They're not getting a lot of the credit, but Dallas Turner and those guys on defense, like Bama is Bama. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's kind of like they're kind of an afterthought just because they've lost a game, but
yeah,
they've.
The LSU game's still going to be.
Well, the other question was the Tennessee game in a couple weeks. Like
Well,
you're done on Tennessee, huh?
I don't know. I don't know if I could
I mean,
believe in that guy at
that's what I'm
quarterback.
saying. The third Saturday in October, but that's
It's
2 weeks from
still
now. But
it's a rivalry game. It's a home game, so you got to think you like their chances
yeah, no, I agree. Like I say, the good part is they get Tennessee and LSU both at Bryant
at
Denny in
home. Yeah.
Tuscaloosa. So, they play Arkansas this week, who's kind of sputtering, so yeah, that South Florida game, they wanted to switch quarterbacks up, didn't know what they had. You're like, do we have anybody
Mhm.
after Milroe? And it showed that, like, yeah, this team, you know, didn't respond in that game at all. It was just an ugly game. And then they put together 3 nice wins. Obviously, Mississippi State's not very good, but they, handle business there. So now I think they handle Arkansas.
Yeah.
Do they beat Tennessee at home? And then you get LSU,
Like you said, the only thing that scares me about Bama is just their room for error is
yeah,
really
put it this way.
small when it comes to not when I'm not talking about record wise. I'm talking about play wise,
Yeah, no
like
margin for error in the game. Like,
in the
if
game, because if
Milroe throws
they
an interception and
right,
they're not running the ball,
right,
it's kind of like the Gators. If
yeah.
you're not
If
running the
you if you're
ball and
playing if you're playing a high powered offensive team like a LSU, like you say, we like to think that the Bama defense can control the LSU offense, but for some reason, if they can't, like the next team we're going to talk about soon, if their offense isn't
yeah,
putting
well,
up
see,
points,
well, the recipe for that is Milroe's going to throw for 400 on LSU, just like everybody else
that's true.
is.
Yeah, God, that'd be
Jermaine
horrible.
Burton's going to go for 300. So, like I say, that yeah, like again, that's LSU's recipe. I agree.
If you can't,
Right.
that's the only thing that scares me about Bama is like,
Here's the problem: is I
can
don't
you
think.
muster enough?
No, I think the Gators are going to put up yards on LSU. So, like,
Oh,
obviously,
um,
you got
hey,
Gator in the house. We can't move the ball
let's
on the
worry
road.
about
We're definitely
cocky.
not doing.
Let's worry about cocky this week.
We're already beating kids South Carolina, baby. It's LSU. Talk now.
Shoot.
No, yeah, like I say, I think Bama, like I say, they're in the driver's seat.
Mhm.
We'll talk about them obviously when they're playing LSU.
Yeah.
You know,
I
la-
think they learn a lot about themselves, like you
no,
say, those first 2 weeks.
I definitely agree. Like,
And Nick, well, when I say themselves, I mean in AKA Nick.
yeah, for sure.
Nick
He
has
knows
learned a lot about his team.
he's figuring out, like I say, what he's got to do to get
Yeah,
this team,
and he knows he
this
needs to kneel the
2023
ball.
team.
Yeah,
This 2023 team is different than 2019, 2020,
right.
21. They're different.
We
So
don't have to worry about Nick not kneeling the ball at the end of the game.
yeah, right. For sure. He knows what to do. But
Yeah,
the last game we'll talk about real quick before we get on to this week's games is Georgia finally being Georgia, I guess. They finally played a team,
dude.
who's got a heart rate. Kentucky,
Carson.
beat the brakes off the Gators the week before. So everybody's kind of riding high, like Ray Davis is going to be able to run on Georgia, da 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 da. Carson Beck, I've been telling you, I feel like he's quietly been having a really good season. He
No, yeah,
finally,
he has been. He has been. But
like,
I think the holdup for me with Carson was we keep talking about the efficiency, and you're like, all right, we know he has Bowers, but everything else has been kind of short unless it's been going to Bowers. But that first drive against Kentucky this week, when they were airing it out, I was just like, whew. That's
yeah,
they took the gate. They pretty much did what the Gators should have done the week before, and let's go vertical.
yeah,
And then
well,
he started the game 11 of 11.
yeah.
Boy, I
Like
think
I
he had
say,
like what 300 almost at the half. Felt like.
no, he was lighting it up, and here's the thing: he's
Mhm.
quietly been lighting it up all year. Really,
He really has.
what's crazy is everybody's talking about Jaden Daniels and like how good Jaden Daniels is. He's like literally a couple, like maybe 100 yards less than Jaden Daniels, just
Yeah,
as
the
many
only
touchdowns.
difference is go look
Rushing
at
is the difference.
Daniel's rushing
No, that's the
rushing
thing.
numbers.
The rushing is the difference. That's definitely
Yeah.
that's the difference. But as far as passing wise, and completion percentage
Mhm.
or all that stuff, Carson's right at the top in the country.
Well, yeah, like you say, because the difference is they're going vertical. Where you look at like we keep talking about Mertz, everything is like horizontal and short.
Yeah,
So I can respect how he's going vertical and his numbers are showing it. Where they're moving the offense and whatnot, where it's efficient. And, hey, like I said, that first half, it was just like, man, this is the team we've been waiting on all year.
yeah. Here's my other takeaway from this is I'm glad actually Billy got Graham Mertz instead of Devin Leary because I was a big proponent of Devin Leary and he looks like god awful.
Trash.
He's
Yeah.
played terrible. You
Yeah.
know, he can't complete nothing. And, they've
He
been
looks like a
leaning.
totally different guy than when he was at
It's
NC State.
it's pretty weird. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like at least Mertz is completing balls. This guy can't even. He's not even completing 50% of his passes, man.
I mean, in the
And
50%, the other 50%, he's the receivers are dropping.
yeah, and they're not helping him out at all for sure either. And
No.
they've been relying on Ray Davis, who has been great, and obviously he set the world on fire, last week or the week
Yeah.
before. But Kentucky, like I say, the Gators, that game got away from them, and then they completely got out of
Mhm.
their game. And that's the part of the thing you can't do. You can't get out of your game, and
No.
if you do, you got to somehow figure yourself back into your game. And
Yeah.
basically, what Georgia did was they said, "No, this is our effing game, and we're gonna show
Yeah.
you why we're number one." And they did. They flexed their muscle.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I guess the other top 25 matchups that were good last week was Louisville, like we said before, they knocked off Notre Dame. A lot of people felt like Notre Dame in those back to back bangers of games, how would they fare? And
They
Louisville,
got another one this week.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And
That's what I said at the beginning of the
now
year.
a lot of people think Notre Dame's going to beat SC this week. We'll get into that one in a minute, but
Yeah.
that's you got 4 bang 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 bang.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's what I said. Preview, like the preview show is, if somehow Notre Dame could get through this, I know we all don't like Notre Dame, but if they would have just
right.
came through this whole 4-game stretch with one loss,
Yeah,
there's no way you could deny them to get in the playoff.
for sure. Like I say, and I mean,
Their schedule, they had the number one. They had to have had the number one schedule in the country.
Possibly, definitely so far. I mean, now like I say, when you have an emerging team like a Louisville, and I wasn't high on Louisville. They hadn't really beaten anybody good yet. They had Georgia Tech week 1, and they kind of just have been beating everybody. But again, it was like the perfect elemental like things were all lined up for Louisville. It was back to back tough games for Notre Dame
at home
at night. The crowd was jacked. You're playing. Then you get hell. Again, you can't win any damn game turning the ball over like Notre Dame did.
No.
And Hartman played terrible.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think his receivers aren't helping him.
Yeah, well,
it's just his tight ends. He literally has tight ends.
Yeah, Hartman, hasn't really lit it up in their big games. I mean, they had the tight game with Ohio State early where he really didn't light it up, and then they had the game against Duke where they really should have lost that game, and they found a way to win on that last drive, and then it kind of just showed its ugly head. That
They
so
couldn't
again,
run the ball. They couldn't run the ball either against Louisville.
Estime has been their biggest guy on offense, and
the last 2 weeks he's been put in check for the most part. Like I said, outside of the big run at the end of the game against Duke, he's been put in check for the most part. And this week, I think he only had like 30 yards.
Yeah.
He wasn't the leading rusher on the team.
Yeah, for sure. But the other two top 25 matchups, we'll just briefly. UCLA finally knocked off Wazoo, so there you go. That was, like we said, cannibalization. Wazoo was undefeated. UCLA knocked them off, and then that shootout fest where Missouri finally caught their first L to Jaden Daniels and LSU, and the offensive fireworks game. That was
7-on-7.
That game was pretty fun to watch. Just for
7. It was. I think LSU just wants to turn every game into a 7-on-7 match.
That's pretty much where we're going to look at it. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and jump into these Week 7 games, since we just rehashed an hour's worth of juice on Week 6.
Week 6 is awesome.
Yeah, right.
Syracuse, outside of one game.
Like these, we'll go quick on this. I think Florida State does exactly what they did the week before against Virginia Tech. I think they handle business. The game's at home. Yeah. They'll be jacked up to be back.
Hey, it was all fun a couple weeks ago, and everybody was like, "Oh, Syracuse is 4-0," and they're like, "They haven't played anybody with a pulse."
Syracuse is trash, man. Florida State, like I say, all the intangibles are there for Florida State. Do what you've been doing. Get Jordan Travis get Johnny Wilson and the boys. Is Johnny Wilson banged up?
He might be.
I don't know. I got to look back at that. But get Keon Coleman, Jaheim Bell. Find some other.
Those two guys haven't really been lighting it up the last couple of weeks, which is fine. You get the W's. I think when needed, they could get Keon Coleman going, and they're going to have to diversify that offense a little bit more as the time goes on.
They need to find like another third receiver, not named Jaheim Bell, your H-back tight end flex guy.
Yeah.
Obviously get Benson and Tiafole going at running back. Keep everybody healthy, and like I said, that's just
Jordan be efficient. Just be efficient. Move the ball. Get the ball to your playmakers and run the football and your front four on defense. Just let them control the game. That's pretty much it. Here we go.
Can the Gators win on the
There we
road
go.
at Williams-Brice Stadium this Saturday?
Until it happens, I can't say it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we're gonna win the game, but no, I don't think we're gonna win the game. So
you really don't think you're gonna win?
No, they got to show me. So,
yeah, I see the reverse psychology.
Exactly.
I'm picking up what you're doing right there.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah.
No, they, like I say, they haven't won a road game, like you said, since A&M last year, and they played great in that game. Now, can they do some of these things that they need to do to win on the road? Is there recipes for them? And the good part is, this is where I feel like, this is what I was saying last week. I was looking too far ahead, according to you, is you're playing some teams who aren't good in certain things where you're good at. South Carolina doesn't stop the run well. You run the ball well. So you got to get that going. South Carolina's offensive line has been a struggle fest all season, keeping Spencer upright. It started week 1 with 9 sacks against North Carolina. Georgia really got her from that second half, when they were up in that game in Athens, which they played really well.
Yeah.
And then Tennessee got after their ass, a couple weeks ago. So that's where the Gators need to get after Rattler.
It's on your front four.
And the front four has been good, and the front four has been solid. No Juice Wells again for South Carolina. Now they've got to handle Leggett. He's been great for them.
Yeah.
But so, like I say, the recipe is there.
Put Marshall on them.
Yeah, right. The recipe is there for like things that you do well that South Carolina doesn't. Now, can you take advantage of those things do that stuff?
What do you do? How do you flip your schedule? How do you flip your routine? Like, what are you going to do to change?
Well, he's already done that apparently, which I think is a bunch of hooey.
Leave the baton in Gainesville.
Yeah, that's
for one.
I want to break that damn thing. But anyways, the thing about it is like, I don't care if you leave a day early or you eat pot roast for dinner or spaghetti. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care. What did you do on Tuesday afternoon in practice? Yeah. What are you doing today in practice?
But I'm just saying, you just got to somehow change that.
Apparently
routine you have.
The player said we just need some more sleep, Coach Napier, and so they've got a little bit.
Just don't go out.
They've got a little bit of sleep scheduled for them to get a little bit more rest on Saturday.
Don't go to Fat Tuesdays on Tuesday.
No. Well, I'm not talking about on Tuesday. I'm talking about allegedly they're tired on Saturday. I don't know. So again,
don't go to Booze Day.
The Gators need to just take the approach of, hey, I don't care where we're playing this game. We need to play our game.
Exactly.
Take care of the football.
I can't. Did the players really say that?
Yeah, they're the sleep. They're going to get more sleep this weekend.
Dude, you only have 20 hours.
They're leaving early. I'm not talking about tired for the week. I'm saying they're tired on these road games.
What does that mean?
I don't know. They're having to get up too early to go. They're having to get up too early to go to breakfast or meetings or something. I don't know. So they're going to go to bed earlier, get a little bed check sooner. Let them sleep in a little.
That makes no sense to me. We only have 20 hours that the coaches can be with you for
tweaking the schedule is what Billy said. We're tweaking the schedule.
Of course, I agree with that. Tweak the schedule. Like, do you leave early? Do you?
Yeah, they're leaving earlier. They're leaving earlier.
The part is like,
yeah, I don't know. But
you're adults.
Regardless, hopefully the game plan, you can stick to it. That's been the biggest problem, in their losses. Their 2 losses to Utah and against Kentucky on the road. They completely got shell-shocked early, got out of the game plan, and then were trying to fight their way back out. I feel like the emergence of Trey Wilson to the offense has looked good. I think he can be a difference maker for him.
Yeah.
If Mertz can just stay on his game and maybe hit one of these 2 or 3 shot plays, that'll be big. And then if you can get ETN back in there this week, Montrell looked pretty good running. The defense obviously had the shell-shock game of not being able to stop Ray Davis. But this isn't what Kentucky doesn't do that. Or, South Carolina doesn't do that. They're a throwing team. Spencer's going to drop back and throw it 40 times. So get after him, pressure him. And, like I say, here's the thing, too. Play loose. Play loose. You ain't got nothing to lose. Let's go. So
what time is this game?
It's a 3:30 kick. It's like the 3:30 game. The 3:30 window this weekend is like I don't have enough TVs,
It's loaded. Yeah.
So
I can't pick the Gators to win until they win on the road. It's just one of those things. Like road routines mean a lot to a lot of teams, and I don't know. Like you say, can the defense get after Rattler? That's been their weak point is their offensive line, but they do have some big receivers. And if they got to throw the ball 40, 50 times, I like the Gators' chances of possibly winning this game. But at the moment, until you guys went on the road, I can't pick them.
yeah, that's
I
what
just
I'm saying.
can't. I just
I'm
can't.
not either. I'm not picking them either. Even though I think we're going to win, I'm not picking us. Not doing it. All right, dog. Now, what do you think your boys are going to do? Get off the mat, or is this the same old Miami Hurricanes team?
That's what I'm curious to see.
This is a tough one, in my opinion, because I think North Carolina, they've quietly, had a really good start to the year. Nobody's really talking about them. Drake May's been pretty damn good. He was really good last weekend.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of his not coming out party, but his coming out party as this season. He was throwing some of his balls. I was watching some of that tape on last week's game, and I'm like, man, Drake May he's pretty damn good. So the question is, how does your secondary, like those taking chance safeties, do they stay? Do they stay in their? Do they stay in their business and do what they're supposed to do, or are they going to try to jump some stuff and end up getting beat over the top? To where it can lead to some easy touchdowns.
This is going to be a line of scrimmage game. Can the front four? Can we produce enough pressure with our front four to where we don't have to blitz and do exotics, even though that's a thing Guidry likes to do? But I think if we could get home with 4, we up Drake May. I think we have an opportunity to slow down that offense, the high-powered offense. On the flip side, what will our offense do? What will Shannon Dawson do? Will he change things up? Will he get the tight ends more involved? We can run the ball. I don't have any problems thinking we can't run the ball with our offensive line and being physical. The play calling is going to have to change up a little bit. We got to stop. We ran like 1 million screens in the first 4 games, and we can't just keep doing that. We got to change up some tendencies. Like I say, it's like the Georgia Tech the defensive coordinator and the defense knew all our tendencies and what we were going to do, what we weren't going to do, outside of a couple shots to Restrepo and Colby Young that they weren't prepared for. But we just got to come out. I think we could win this game, but I just need to see it. I just need to see which Canes team shows up. Is it the 2020, between 2004 and 2022 Canes team show up where we just lose and go on a losing streak? Or do we bounce off the mat, like you said, and just come out and pull out a W up in Chapel Hill? I think we can.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be pissed off and know that they let one slip away last week, and I think they're going to win the game.
Yeah, that's the great part about it is you kind of get to see where this team's head is at and what kind of team they really are made of.
Yeah.
And going in to last week, you're thinking, all right, they get the Georgia Tech win, whatever.
Yeah.
Has it changed my thought? Here's the thing. In my eyes, you guys won the game against Georgia Tech, but didn't look that impressive, struggled, didn't do the things you need to do, turned the ball over, all that type of stuff. So now it's like, okay, they're playing North Carolina, a team who's, like we said, has had ups. They played good in that week 1 against Carolina, and then they've kind of hadn't played anybody. But then, Mays looked really good. I mean, he just, like I say, last week, 442 in the air, 3 touchdowns. He was throwing dots all over the field. So it's more so of how does Miami respond? Even if y'all would have won that game in ugly fashion, you'd be like, hey, man, maybe Miami's not as good as we thought or whatever.
Yeah, we'll find out
now. But now it's like, okay, they're going to have to play. We looked with the gut check game or the barometer check game was A&M. All right, so A&M and what they like to do is throw it around the yard, and you guys got after Wigman and kept them pretty much in check. You guys got physical and ran the ball, and then Tyler Van Dyke had a great game through the air that day. So, like you just said, I think Drake May is going to get what he wants to get, and I think it's going to be the potential shootout. And I think Van Dyke, in a sense, has to play really good and, in a sense, match Drake May, score for score. Yeah, your both defenses are going to have to come to play and get some stops.
I like our defense, though. That's the only difference in the last several years. I like our defense until they show me different, which it can happen. They can It could be a Fugazi defense, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
Watching
know.
them play.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's where you're going to get tested for sure this week.
Yeah. It's all on the
And
front four, the front seven.
exactly. So, and going on Carolina's front, they've actually done a pretty good job getting to the quarterback with their front four. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do the same, like they've done all year with their front. Like Chiswick's done a pretty good job with that defense as well at North Carolina. We've always looked at North Carolina as high-powered offense. They're scoring, but their defense isn't very good. I think this North Carolina defense is a lot better in years past. So that's what definitely makes this an intriguing matchup. To where it's like, okay, who's going to win the chess match? Who's going to do?
This is the Shannon Dawson game.
Yeah, no, we're going to find out because
this is the Shannon Dawson game.
We're going to find out what his offense is going to dial up. We're going to find out if Tyler Van Dyke is going to play like he did last week. Is he going to play like the Tyler Van Dyke that played the first 5 weeks of the season? Not turning the ball over, hitting balls downfield, letting those receivers get loose, running the good, strong ground game with Chaney and those guys. Like I say, I love this matchup. I think yes, it lost some luster, obviously, with y'all losing the game. So it's not like a top, 15 matchup, but it's definitely it's got the makings of a great game.
Well, I think something I was telling Ricky about the other day was I just felt like going into that game last week and not the uncertainty of what Tech was going to do on defense kind of threw the whole Miami game plan out of the way because, first 15 plays, 10 to 15 plays are usually scripted.
Yeah.
And it just looked ugly from the beginning. And we didn't even bring up my text that I texted you guys in the middle of the game at 9:06 p.m. on Saturday. I hate bye weeks. So you would think coming out of a bye week, you would have those first 15 scripted. But like I say, Georgia Tech threw a wrench in. You didn't know who was calling plays. But hopefully they'll have an idea of what Chiswick's tendencies are, even though he's going to throw, a couple little wrench plays in there on defense, that they could come out and get a fast start and be able to move the ball. And that's going to be the biggest thing. Can we move the ball? Can we get between the 40s? We seem like we do a good job. But once we get into that red zone area, we got to convert touchdowns. We can't just keep taking threes. So we'll see. Like I said, I like our chances. I think the guys are going to bounce back. I think
they're going to bounce
leadership, and I think they're going to win.
I think they're going to
come down to it, but we're going to win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the bounce back. I just feel like North Carolina might have too much. I think North Carolina wins a tight one for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. I feel like Drake May's playing better than Van Dyke, and it's just after 1 week performance, like one bad performance from Tyler Van Dyke. It's not like it turned me off from him, but it's like you reared your ugly head from some of those games you had last year. Is it going to change? And that's where you got to be like, you got to show like the Gators. You got to show me that you can beat a top 15 team. Yes, you did it against Texas A&M at home. But
it's easy to do it at home.
That's what I'm saying. This is where you're going to get challenged, and we're going to find out a lot. Like I say, that's the great part about playing the game. You get to go play the game. You get to go see where you're at. But definitely looking forward to that one Saturday night for sure. The two other big games Saturday is the top 10 matchup in the Pac-12. The Oregon Mighty Ducks versus the Washington Huskies.
I can't wait to watch this one.
I can't wait to see who you're picking. I want to know if we're on the same wavelength. I think we're going to be different in this one, but we'll see.
We'll see.
I feel like this matchup is obviously you got two tremendous quarterbacks the way both of them are playing right now. Bo Nix and Michael Penix, and like they're playing lights out ball. So it's going to come down to, whose defense can do what they need to do to stop both of these quarterbacks. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll tell you what I think. So you tell me who do you like, and why?
I'm going with the lefty. I'm going with the lefty at home, buddy. Hey, that offense is high powered. Bo Nix is he still Bo Nix?
Right. Bo Nix
I don't know. Yeah, even Bo Nix of last year. I think Oregon's going to give them fits and whatnot. I just think the Washington offense is just too high. As long as they don't turn the ball over, they're just too high powered. They're just going to put up points, and I think their defense is better than we've given them credit for. We meaning everyone, not just me and you. But and it's a home game. Like we're seeing it every week how important that is to play at home. And I just like UW. I like UW to pull this one out. Who you got?
I'm totally opposite, baby.
I figured you're going with Bo Nix.
I'm going with the Oregon Ducks, man. And it's I love what Washington's doing. I love Penix, and like I say, this game
Yeah,
is that close. It's razor's edge. It's a 3-point
yeah,
line just because the game's in Washington. But I think it's like a pick 'em in my opinion. And like I say,
yeah.
either one of us
Neutral
can
side is
win.
the pickle.
Either one of us can pick. I could pick Oregon. You could pick Washington. One of us is obviously going to be right, but it could go either way, in my opinion. So it's not like I'm just like Oregon's definitely winning this game. Go put all your money.
Yeah. No,
But
yeah.
I feel like
You like
Oregon
Dan
for some
Lanning?
reason. I like what Lanning's doing. I like. See, you like Washington. I like Oregon's defense. I feel like Oregon's defense
No, their defense is good.
is underrated. I feel like the other thing that's underrated too is we talk about Bo Nix and throwing. Oregon likes to run the football too, and their ground game has been pretty solid all year. And yes, we talk about Washington's D, but Washington's D is like in the 60s against the run. So I'll be curious to know if Washington can
Yeah,
slow
because they're
down
on
the
the damn
ground
field
game.
the whole game because they score so fast.
Yeah, well, they're in the 60s, so we'll see how their ground game is.
Take the over.
Against.
How about we both probably agree on that?
Yeah, no,
Taking the over?
definitely 67 is the over under. So yeah, like I say, I feel like definitely home field advantage. Obviously playing in Washington, but it's like it's not a night game, so the elements are still going to be there.
It's
Good
a noon game for them. 12:30.
exactly 3:30 kick our time. But I feel like Oregon. Bo Nix is going to be what Bo Nix of this year is going to be. I think he's a different quarterback. I think he's a different quarterback.
This is a Heisman game for both QBs.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, both of those guys are right there in the Heisman talk for sure. So I love what Michael Penix is doing. Like I say, they're lighting the world on fire. I feel like Oregon's defense I think is better than Washington. I feel like they'll get the timely stop or the big turnover that they need to do just to win this game. Razor's edge. I think it will be a 3-point game, a 1-point game. It's going to be that tight of a ball game to where it's one pivotal play of like, man, they got the critical stop when they needed to. Bo Nix went down the field. They got the late field goal. They got the late touchdown, whatever. I feel like it's going to be a tightly contested game. I feel like it's going to be a hell of a game. But for some reason, I was leaning Washington, going in, but I don't know. The last couple of days I've been thinking about it. I like what Bo Nix, I like what Dan Lanning's got going on. I like the defense. But granted, like their best win is obviously against blowing out Colorado. Yeah, they beat Texas Tech on the road, but Texas Tech's not very good. And then they've handled business demolishing everybody else, to whereas I don't even know who Washington's you would consider their best win.
Probably
Arizona or Cal.
Probably.
Arizona's been sneaky,
Arizona's they're not great. They're decent, like they gave USC fits. And
no, for sure. So like I say, I like Washington and I like Penix, but I'm going with my boy Bo. I'm going with my boy Bo. Bo knows. So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, he's your boy now? Man.
My boy from Auburn. The Auburn boy, Mr. Nix.
I figured that's what you were going with, the SEC ties with Lanning and and Bo Nix. I should have known that.
Should have known. I love Michael Penix. Don't get me wrong. He's the real deal. And like I say, one of these guys is going to emerge. The winner of this game is going to emerge as the Pac-12, driver's seat. I think that I put it this way. What do you say on this one? The winner of this game, percentage-wise, is going to win the Pac-12.
So I'm looking at the Washington schedule right now. If they win today, they got ASU next and Stanford. Should be 2 wins, and then they go to SC. They still got SC, Utah, Oregon State, and Washington State to finish out the season.
Whew.
Yeah. So even if they win this game, it'll be huge. But hey, that doesn't mean it's a far gone conclusion for UW to win the Pac-12.
Exactly. That's where like that percentage would be still at like 50% maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then on the flip side, for Oregon, you got UW this week. You got Wazoo at home. Then you got Utah, Cal, USC, Arizona State, and Oregon State.
Yeah. They got the same guys.
So whoever wins this game, yes, they're in the driver's seat in week 7, but going after that, yeah, or going into week 8, yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying. No, definitely. Like I said,
yeah.
I think definitely
either way, it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely the quarterback will be obviously in the Heisman front runner race, but I guess the last game we'll really touch on, as far as big games, USC and the Fighting Trojans, man. They remain undefeated, but
Boy,
but
boy.
and versus Notre Dame, the heavily rivalry game of USC Notre Dame. Notre Dame, after playing those, like we said before, those back-to-back bangers, how do they get off the mat after losing another one? Losing to Louisville.
The famous Bill Parcells would say, "You got any gas left in the tank?"
Yeah. So who do you like? Who you got?
In this one, I still like SC, man. I just feel like I think Notre Dame can score points because of that USC defense is just terrible.
Whew. Talk about
It's
LSU.
god
Yeah,
awful.
LSU and USC.
It's god awful. That would be if I was a bowl committee member.
Maybe we can get that bowl game going. But
USC and LSU.
She's like, you're trying us, man. We got to go undefeated. You're trying us,
boy. But yeah, going back to this game, Notre Dame, I think, could slow down the USC offense a little bit, but can Notre Dame score enough points? Because I still like Caleb Williams and those receivers, and Lincoln's still going to dial up some plays. But I got to take SC in this one. I got to take SC.
I totally agree with you. I'm seeing a lot of Notre Dame love thrown at this just because of the black eye that has become more and more prevalent, which we've known since last year, and obviously going into the first part of this year. The USC defense is just like, everybody just, it's like now all the people can't look past it. They're saying they're done, they're toast. They're looking at a Notre Dame team with the Sam Hartman, with the running game with Estime. This is Notre Dame, you're at home, all that good stuff. It's like,
they better get Estime going.
Here's the thing. This is where every time USC plays a game until they lose, I guess is what I'll say, is I will pick them because I think they can score 50. I've said it. What was my key thing? Can you score 50? So
can you score 51?
Yeah.
If they score 50, can you score 51?
Exactly. So I feel like SC can score that every week. Now it might be 40, but can you score 40? Can you score 41? So I feel like SC's offense, I don't care who they're playing. It ain't like Notre Dame's like the next coming of a defense.
No.
They've been good, but they haven't been great. And so
they really haven't played great offenses.
Exactly. Duke's offense isn't great. Louisville's offense is great. So I feel like USC can do what they do on offense. Caleb Williams can be great. Now, if you screw around and throw an interception or something late,
he gets lackadaisical with the ball. Right. He's really, that thing's out there, and if you could punch it out when he's trying to run and all of that, because he's holding that thing like a loaf of bread.
No, I totally agree. So you're looking at all that, and I still feel like SC offensively. Now, like I said, we could be totally wrong on this one, and we'll see. But I feel like Hartman's been a little bit of a disappointment of late in these bigger games where he hasn't been the guy to basically lead the charge. Now, can he get some offensive help besides the tight ends and the running game?
They're going to have to suck the air out of the ball. They're going to have to literally run the ball and just keep that clock moving.
Yeah, you got to play keep away to try to limit possessions as you can and all that stuff.
And hope your defense gets enough stops and turnovers to where you put them in the meat grinder. Because like you say, going back to last week's game against Arizona jumped up 17-0 on SC.
Yeah.
And then before you knew it, it was 17-17.
Yeah.
So it's like
that game was tight. Like I say, they screwed around and
they screwed around. They did. I mean, they found a way to win. What?
Yeah.
That's the theme of the season. Survive and advance.
That's it.
Survive and advance, and can you win on the road?
Definitely the theme of the year for sure. A couple of the other matchups this week that we'll obviously keep an eye on. We won't go too far in depth. Is we talked about Tennessee A&M. A&M getting off the mat. What do they do? We don't love Joe Milton. Who do you like in this one?
A&M.
Really? See, I feel like Tennessee at home. I feel like Tennessee at home is going to get the win. I just think the elements, the environment, all that stuff. I think the question is Texas A&M getting off the mat. Where do they? Like I say, I think it's going to be a good. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I like both teams.
It's a good game to peek at.
No, for sure. But other than that, really, the after that, Auburn, LSU, Missouri, Kentucky, some of these games. Now, the other Pac-12 game to keep an eye on is UCLA and Oregon State. That's a top 20 matchup at Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
You know, UCLA just got the big upset, finally knocked off Wazoo. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, there's definitely some good games other than our team's games and these other primetime
And
ones that we
hey,
got.
speaking of prime time, we haven't even might be 2 weeks in a row. We may not even talk about that team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what happens when you play, you know, not the big game.
4-2.
What's crazy is for a minute there, you know, you're sitting there. This is a hairy game
Mm-hmm.
against the Arizona State team, which you kind of figured that would be on the road, you
Oh
know.
yeah, they're gonna
but
be the dog. Yeah, they're gonna be a dog fight.
as I was look at it,
They
we
should be
talked about them.
5-2 this week.
Yeah, they're going to beat Stanford. That's who they got
They-
next, right? And then after
Yeah,
that, now here's where I think they're gonna be in some dogfights in all the rest of the
yeah.
games.
They just got to figure out
And
one more.
exactly, and it's gonna be hard because you know UCLA is pretty damn good,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then we know the rest of the schedule they got is pretty damn good. So we'll see where they're at. I still think they can maybe. I think they're going to win 6 games, you know, which is kind of where I thought they would be in that 5 to 7 win range.
Before we move on, I saw one of the dumbest tweets ever the other week, and I keep forgetting to bring it up. Someone I know had the nerve to say that the Peach, you know, you heard the whole thing where the Peach Bowl is like, we want Colorado.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, oh, they don't understand how business works. This is not business. That's not how this works. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, if you line up any bowl game in committee and Colorado wins 6 games, they're lining up out the door to get that team there. Regardless if they think they win, they don't even care if they win or not.
Yeah.
They just want to get Colorado at their game, and they're going to sell out that game.
I got a crazy stat for you or a crazy thing that I saw today. How many teams do you think have 1 million Instagram followers total in college football? It's not many, just to let you know, so you don't have to really dive hard into it.
I figured. I would say, I'm sure Notre Dame's one of them. Probably SC, Ohio State. I would say like 6 or 7.
4.
Who are the 4?
Alabama.
Yep.
Ohio State.
Yep.
LSU.
I believe it.
Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how many Colorado had to start the season?
Probably 20.
58,000.
Yeah.
To 1 million. Now they have one of the biggest IG followings just like that. So like I say, case in point, the 3 teams I just named, the other 3 teams have been guys who've won national titles.
I'm surprised Notre Dame does it.
Yeah. I don't even know how many I don't even know how many Notre Dame has.
Hell, even the Gators.
We only have like 500,000. I was like,
shocking. I mean, Gator Nation's everywhere.
Gator Nation is everywhere, but I guess they just don't get on Instagram.
Never mind. Let me stay away from that. I'll just say Florida man.
Dude, Notre Dame only has 200,000 followers. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, would you would think when you're talking about national brands as a Florida and a Notre Dame that they would have more, but I guess a lot of people just don't think to follow those teams on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though. But the whole Colorado thing, hey, you can't say it's not been successful.
Oh,
he can lose the rest of the games and not go to a bowl game, and it's still successful.
Exactly, they were the talk of the town for the first month.
That's it. For sure.
We'll see what happens. All right, buddy, let's get into that top 10 before we end this episode of the Talking Ball podcast with my boy Faro. What do you got for your top 10? Is anything shake up? Obviously, with Texas losing, some things shook up for me, but what do you got?
Yep. At number 10, I got Texas. I got to keep them in my top 10. Only one loss. And I got OU at number 9. I couldn't put Texas over OU after that loss.
Yeah, for sure.
Just doesn't make sense. Cooey's going to be mad at me, but USC is going to drop to number 8. I have to.
Cooey's going to be real mad at me.
So I got SC at 8. I still got Oregon 7, UW 6, Penn State 5, Ohio State 4, FSU 3, Michigan 2, and UGA number 1. I haven't really shook it up yet.
Yeah, no,
I think the next couple weeks it's going to shake up, but I'm trying to be consistent.
Yeah, no, for sure. I obviously I had to shake up because I had Texas at 1 for me, because I thought they were the best team. They lost, so they moved down. But Georgia, they now went back to being Georgia.
They've earned your top spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not it's not that they hadn't played good all year. It's just you're looking at Georgia beat Bowling Green
You
and
just couldn't do it because you're a Gator
UT.
fan.
I mean, they were number one to start the year. I just moved them because I thought Texas had a better win. So it wasn't like I started with Georgia number one.
All right.
But I put Michigan at 2 just because, like I say, they've been doing what they do. I got the Oregon Ducks sitting at number 3 because I think this is going to be their breakout week.
How do you jump them to 3 after last week and they didn't play anybody?
It's just because I'm predecessing where I think they're going.
But you got to play the game first to get to that position.
I'm going to look like a genius when they beat Washington. They're going to be number 3 in all the polls.
Then you put them number 3 next week.
This is my power rankings, and I do what I want.
I get it, but it makes no sense. It makes 0 sense.
Don't worry about my
Go ahead. You just refuse to put that team out west in your top 3. That's all what it is.
Guess what? Florida State's dropped it. They're not going to the Final Four because I got Oklahoma at number 4.
I'm not mad at that one.
So I got Oklahoma.
I just couldn't put them at 4.
Yeah, I mean, here's the great part about it.
They got one good win.
Here's the great part about this too is we're at week 6, so it's all going to play itself out. Because I think Texas is going to beat OU later in the year. And I think OU is going to be out. I think
who you got at 5? Who you got at 5?
I got the Noles at 5, baby. I got the Noles at 5.
I really thought you were going to have them at 10. To be honest with you,
I should have put them at 10 just to mess with Ricky, but I won't do it. But I've got them at 5. I got Texas at 6, dropping from 1 to 6. I got Ohio State at 7, Washington at 8, Penn State at 9, and Bama at 10. Yeah, USC is out of my top 10 just because.
How do you have them out of they won? I get it. It wasn't pretty, but
yeah, they won. It's because you're
rewarding Bama for beating Texas A&M.
I'm forecasting.
Who did they play last week?
They beat Ole Miss and they beat Mississippi State. Two top 25 teams.
Okay.
Again, I'm forecasting out to where we just named USC's schedule. They're going to lose one. I can't see it.
But you don't drop them until they lose.
You can't. I'm not a pollster. This is my poll. I can do whatever I want in my poll. You can win, and I can drop you.
We are part of the media now.
Well, my media poll is good. And here's the thing:
unofficially, we're part of the media.
I've taken on the role of where I think
you're projecting out.
I'm projecting out, but then also this is another part of the poll. The element that I'll go to my boy Josh Pate, who I really like. How his power poll works is, and everybody gives him to complete shit for it. Is his index is based on who's going to be favored if they were to play and where, so on down the line. So his is way out of whack. If you want to talk about at least mine, I take some of those elements with it, and then I take the elements of who you played and where you like. FSU is like 10th in his poll. He's got he's got Texas at 3 and Oklahoma at like 7. And they just played on the field.
How do you have? Once again, I'm not trying to sound like a Florida State fan, but how do you have Florida State at 10 when they played LSU and Clemson?
It's basically it's
sponge.
I'm saying his formula. This is not my formula.
I know, but what I'm saying is when you look at Oregon, right? Their best win is Colorado, who's not even in the top 25.
Not anymore.
Yeah. OU's best win was a big win against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They should sneak into the top.
Well, this is the formula of what he's trying to say. And this goes back to where I was trying to tell you guys how Bama should have been in the Final Four over at TCU. We don't have to get into the whole semantics of that. But basically what he's saying is it comes down to who would be favored by Vegas. So if OU and Texas just played last week, OU won the game on the field, he's got Texas ahead of them in the rankings because if they played this week, Texas would be favored again.
That is dumb. That is so stupid and dumb.
If OU and Texas played, who would be favored to win that game?
I would pick Texas to win, but guess what? They didn't beat OU this week. So you can't rank OU over Texas after they just lost to them. That is the dumbest argument when they've played head-to-head. I get the whole scenario if they haven't played head-to-head. I get that. But they played head-to-head. And who won head-to-head? OU.
Yep. I know.
So how can you sit here and justify telling people, "Oh, I have Texas over OU because if they played again this week, Texas would beat OU again."
You just have to go listen to his formula and model. That's all I can say. I can't
No,
explain it because it's his
no,
thing.
no, I get it, but it's stupid.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it,
Trust
it's
me,
stupid.
a lot of fans, I think he does it for that fashion because
For
it
sure.
causes so much. It's not even a troll. It's just like this is
No,
his
it's a
like,
troll. No, it's a troll.
but but in a sense, it does make sense because you're like, okay, because here's the reason why I would say that is because I think what's going to happen if I'm a prognosticator when Texas and OU play in the Big 12 championship game, Texas will be favored and Texas will win. So outrightly, they'll be ahead of them in the polls.
No. When they once they beat OU, you move them back in front of OU. Until that happens, you have to put OU in front of Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I've
They
got him in front
played
of
head
Texas.
to head.
I'm giving you his
I know,
poll.
but it's
That's all.
dumb. It's stupid. When
Well,
you play head,
that's guess what?
so
That's
you're
your
basically
that's your opinion.
no. No, that's a fact. When you are playing head to head,
Morrow's in the AP poll, guys. He's an AP pollster.
when you throw
gotta
out
vote.
the head to head element because I think this team's better than this team. That is like so dumb to me. If they don't play head to head, I could get the argument.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with your logic behind that. I agree. That's why I put Oklahoma. I put Oklahoma ahead of Texas. I'm just saying what his poll does, and this is not even his poll. It's he literally. This is not even his poll. He literally generates it in a machine, just like the BCS. It's like a numbers thing that you plug in. Yeah, exactly.
We see where the BCS is now.
Yeah, they had to do away with it because we don't have two teams anymore. There's four.
Stupid. Because the BCS was stupid.
Yeah, definitely had its.
I mean, go back to 2000. What was it? 2000, when Miami beat Virginia Tech. They beat Florida State. Somehow they beat Florida State and they beat 4 or 5 top 25 teams, but yet Florida State got into the national championship game over the team that they lost to.
Yeah.
No, so that is the Josh Pate model. So you're telling me, Florida State and Miami play again after they got their ass whooped by Miami. We're going to put Florida State in because we think they'd beat Miami again.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember.
What did Florida first time?
What did Florida State do the rest of that year? What was their record that year? I don't even remember.
Sponge. Does it matter? They lost head to head. Miami only had one loss when they lost out at Washington.
I know. His thing generates off of who would be favored. So they look at the forecast of Vegas already favoring Florida State for the rest of their games.
What I'm saying is,
like we already said, Florida State is favored in every single one of their games.
No. So
if you go to bet in Vegas,
that's the model. So in 2000, when Miami beat Florida State, right? The only game they lost to was at Washington.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm about to have to go look this up now because I want to see what FSU did in 2000 because I don't remember.
Because they lost to Miami. I think they only had one loss.
That's what I'm saying. Did they? That's what I'm asking. It's not that Miami won. Miami won out. What I'm saying is
the head-to-head factor should take over.
It does.
You already played. Clearly, it didn't that year. Clearly, it didn't. That was the year they lost to Oklahoma in the championship game.
Florida State 2000.
Yes, that's when we went down to Bourbon Street and beat some team on Bourbon Street and in the game.
They lost to OU. Yep. Yeah, so they were favored probably in every game because they played Duke, and this is when the ACC was so good.
Yeah,
they beat number 10 Clemson in Doak 54-7 that year. Good God.
But that's what I'm saying.
Who knows what the Josh Pate model would have been in 2000?
But that's the model. But how can you reward a team that played head to head? If you play head to head, like I say, 2000, Miami beat Florida State. Shouldn't have Miami beat if it came down to those two? OU was number 1.
Yep.
How? Not only just that, Miami was number 2 the whole year up until the last week, and then Florida State jumped them to get in the championship game. How does that make sense?
Yeah. I agree with you.
If you play head-to-head should supersede any kind of model you have out there.
It does. And here's the thing. His model doesn't make what happens. It doesn't make who goes to the Final Four.
I'm just saying in general, it's like stupid model.
Here's a prime example. What the model has at number 5? Alabama. A one-loss Alabama team's ahead of Ohio State, Washington, Oklahoma, Penn State, and Florida State is 10. It's literally Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Oregon, Bama. That's the top 5 in that.
So how are you rewarding Michigan, who hasn't played anybody?
Yeah.
That's my whole thing, where it doesn't make any sense.
I think what it boils down to is, again, they're favored. They're going to be favored in every game going down, except for maybe.
Make sense.
Again, I'm not the. You got to go listen to his explainer of it.
Rankings is not where we think a team's going to be. It should be where we're at this moment.
Like I say, you got to go listen. I can't break it down, so I'll send everyone to Josh Pates. Just look up his power rank, because every week he has to put out like a disclosure every week, because it's like people for the first time who listen to it and look at it like, oh God, what is this guy? He's a freaking idiot. Like, my guy, he's a pretty smart guy. He knows his shit for sure.
He's smart. I like Josh Pate, but I think he's stupid.
See, I kind of like it just because it's interesting.
Because it has us arguing right now.
Exactly. Why not? Exactly. So, I mean, and the great part about it is, you could talk about it and everything, because hell, there's some teams in there that's like, why is this team here and that team, like, even further down, like, like LSU still being in the top 20 and they've got 2 losses, or, Clemson at 19 or what, whatever, so it's like, the great part about it is we talk about this all the time in week 6, 7, 8, 9, and right there before the close of all the, what if this happens? What if that? Guess what? That's why we get to watch it all unfold and play out, and it's going to happen. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, everything sorts itself out. The great part about this year is I think there's going to be a lot more chaos, because I think there's going to be a lot of those teams with 1 loss and are fighting for that last spot to get in. And that's what's going to make it, great. And, and we're just going off rip that we think that Georgia is going to run the table, or one of those Big Ten teams is going to run the table. Like, what if nobody runs the table?
Hey,
so like,
I'm here for it.
Everybody's got a loss. You're like, this is the sad part about this. You're like, we used to always believe we need chaos because we need to blow this shit up. Well, guess what? This is the last year of it, because next year all those 12 teams are going to be in. So that's the great part about what we got next year. So, like I said, that's the good part about all this. Is, like I say, it's a great talking point. It's going to make you argue. It's going to make you talk trash. The good part about it is, that's why we play the game. That's why we watch these games. That's why we enjoy them, and that's what makes it fun and entertaining. And like my dad would say, this is all for entertainment anyways, man. It's all for entertainment. It's all for you to pay your money to go to these games, watch these games, spend money, advertising, all that. And that's why this thing's moving to a 12-team playoff.
One of the many things Big Bill would say.
It's all about entertainment, baby.
He would have loved it. He would have loved that game on Saturday.
Yeah, no,
that
for
OU
sure.
That OU Texas game.
He might have got the tattoo like the Oklahoma guys going, horns down, baby, horns down. But no, like I say, it's going
to be fun.
The last 2 weeks, this week and the week before, and even looking at this week, great games to, like, where we're finding out some of these teams who they really are, and like the Canes, we're going to find out the Canes can get off the mat. Can the Gators win on the road? That's the great part about all of this. So we move on from another week to another week, baby. So, like I say, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. This was a long one because we had a lot to digest, a lot to break down. But it was fun, like I say. So if you stuck with us and listen to us,
thank you.
We appreciate it. We appreciate whoever's listening, whoever's liking, subscribing, sharing. We appreciate the new listeners that some of our homeboys have put out there. So, like I say, if you like what we're talking about, give us the thumbs up, give us a shout. Talk some shit to us, and if you don't like what we're saying, then screw you. Tell us who your team is, so we can talk ish back to you.
Yeah, exactly. If you want us, I know it was at the end of the show, but it was our friend Mike in our group text from Lonop, Mike Mendez. He's a Bama fan. He's like, I don't want to hear about the Gators. I don't. He's like, don't talk about the Gators.
Like I say, we talked about the Gators, but we talked a lot about.
We talked about Bama. We threw Bama in there for him.
Yeah, no, we talked. Like I said, we started this thing as we're going to talk about the big three, but we become let's talk about the big dogs. Like, but that's what makes it fun. The good part about it is we know our shit, so we can talk about it, and you can listen to us, break it down, and we know who's playing for Washington and Washington State and North Carolina and Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So, like I say, we love this sport. This is our time of the year, man. We love Saturdays, so. Like I say, enjoy this week's college football. And like I say, please keep listening, keep subscribing, keep liking, and we'll see you next week, my boys.
Later.